Yeah, appreciate everybody jumping on. Coach's Corner, number 2. Excited to have Ross Hodge on today, one of my very close friends in the business. I believe a true gem in this business, has no weakness in my opinion. I'm going to make him feel a little turn red maybe for a second, but has won everywhere he's been. Has been a head coach at Paris Junior College, at Midland Junior College, took Midland to the national championship, has won 86% of his games, has had several NBAers, family man, a teacher, a high-level communicator, a deep thinker, extremely connected to his people and loyal, so great at building trust, and just a high-level head coach. He will be a head coach again, and like I said, just has no weakness and has his feet on the ground, which I think is also rare in this business. So excited to have Ross Hodge on. I call him the mayor, so if you hear me refer to him as the mayor, then that's why. But yeah, excited to have you on, Mayor. Thanks for joining us.
Man, glad to be here, man. Glad to be here.
So we'll hop straight to it. We're all kind of coming out of this quarantine. Tell us a funny story about yourself or your family that you learned during the time of quarantine. I know you got some funny little stories over there. I know what's going down.
I mean, I don't even know off the top of my head, man. I can't even. I would tell you this, man. I have an 8-year-old son, and he plays baseball in the summer and stuff. Obviously, that got shut short, like everybody else's deal. But they started practicing last Sunday, June 1st, and just being back out there and being around those guys. As soon as I got home, I text like Jareem and Matt, our other 2 assistants, and said, man, when we get an opportunity to get back out on that floor, with our team, it's going to be a hell of a day right there, man. So just that little nugget kind of got me excited for being back around everybody, And as far as our family, man, just no particular story, man. There's silliness and funny every day.
So was Reed doing cartwheels when he was back on the field just to get back at it again, or what?
Yeah, he was excited, man. He was excited. They both were. Mainly we were on the strict side of things initially until we found out exactly what was going on, and it was hard on them because some of their friends necessarily maybe never even social distance at all. And you see other little kids running around the neighborhood playing with each other. So just to be able to get back and be around people, is what we all probably miss as much about anything. Obviously miss competing and coaching and things like that. But you just miss being around other people, man.
Right. The interaction is key. Tell us something from the quarantine that you feel like maybe you will take with you in your new normal as we kind of transition from old normal to new normal.
I think the biggest thing was maybe finding simple ways to enjoy each other or enjoy things, with your family as we all do. I know some of you guys have families, or, you get in our business and things start moving so fast. And then when you do have free time, sometimes you feel like you need to go and like do something, experience something, go on a vacation. But with this period in time, you really couldn't, man. So just simple things, playing games with your kids, watching old TV shows, man, like watching. My kids fell in love with like Family Matters, and that was kind of our deal. We'd eat, go for walks, go for bike rides, come home, shower up, and we'd watch like a Family Matters or 2 before everybody went to bed, So
awesome.
Just little things like that you can appreciate. It doesn't always have to be small. I mean, it doesn't have to be big vacations, or you can learn to appreciate just small moments.
Yeah, I think it was you that sent me an article at one point in time that was talking about that exact thing of, sometimes we think that we have to have these extravagant moments or these well planned out, moments, but the memories that we make is just everyday memories and just cherishing those. So definitely COVID-19 was full of those. Tell everybody a little bit. Obviously, I know I was talking about it before everybody got on the call about Ross back in the day with the headband. He got a couple tattoos he won't let you know about, but
couple bad tattoos.
Ross was a really good player at the school that my younger brother is actually the head women's coach at now. But tell everybody a little bit about your playing career, where you're from, and just how you kind of got into coaching.
Yeah, played. Grew up, right outside of Dallas, like southeast of Dallas. Went to Seagoville High School. Played for Leonard Bishop, who's just an unbelievable high school coach, man. Great man. Um, probably showed me the importance of believing in people. And he really believed in me at an early age and gave me an opportunity. And whenever I wanted to get into the gym, he lived in Garland, but he'd come and pick me up, or he just really showed what it meant to be like a servant head coach at an early age. And then he went to Lincoln High School. When I went and played at Paris Junior College, and then he went to Lincoln. And then even at a young age, I realized how important players were, because he went to Lincoln and he was running the exact same offenses we were running at Seagoville High School. We were going 19-10 every day. And then he went over to Lincoln and he had like Byron Hopkins, Leonard Hopkins, Byron Eaton, Chris Bosch. They go 40-0, and win like a mythical national championship running the exact same stuff. So even as like a 20-year-old, it didn't take long to dawn on me the importance of players. Went to Paris Junior College, played for another phenomenal basketball coach who actually life goes full circle. Bill Foy, who's back at Paris Junior College now, won a national championship there. Came to North Texas from Paris, and they had two of the better years in school history when he was there with Johnny Jones. Went and played at Commerce, like Brian mentioned, for Sam Walker, another phenomenal coach, another phenomenal man, winningest coach in the school's history there at Commerce. Was a, father figure, in every sense of the word. And I was kind of a punk when I played. I'm not gonna lie, man. I had like a little edge and a little chip, and him and I would clash heads, and that's probably, those experiences with him helped me as I became a coach not to take things like that personal, and be able to move on to the next day, and be able to maybe you get into it with the guy, or maybe you go hard at a guy, maybe he's got some things to say back to you, but then the next day you come back and it's the next day and it's all good. But GA'd for him for 2 years were probably my funnest years as a coach, even to this day, with some unbelievable experiences. I look back on those 2 years as a GA, transitioning from playing to not having the responsibilities maybe physically to put your body through things, and GAing with Coach Walker. Roger Brown was there, and we went to the Sweet 16, won the Lone Star, which was really good, broke the school record for wins. And man, that was still like probably my favorite year coaching. And a lot of it was just because I was so ignorant and didn't know anything, didn't know how hard it was, didn't know the ins and outs, the nuances, had no idea what the business was or what it entailed or how important it was. I mean, I was just met my wife and having fun, man. So did that for 2 years, had no intentions of going anywhere, really. Had stretched out my master's a little bit. Coach Foy had just won the national championship at Paris. And he called me in the summer and was like, he had a job open and wanted me to come. And initially I told Coach Foy I wasn't for sure if that's what I wanted to do. Because like I said, I was having the time of my life. We were going to be good again at Commerce, and really, really was happy. And he convinced me. He said, Ross, if you have a desire and you think you're going to get into coaching, you need to do this. This will fast forward your thought process if this is what you want to do or not. So did that. We won the Texas Eastern Athletic Conference the 1 year I was there, and never entered in my mind that Coach Foy would ever leave. He had been there 10 years. I played for him. We're there 1 year, and he goes to North Texas, and that's where I got like the break of a lifetime. Just good fortune. And at the time, I still didn't even realize how lucky I was, but was 25, got the Paris Junior College job, inherited some unbelievable players that were like crazy mature. Ironically, even though it was junior college, was one of the most mature teams I've ever been around. Ramon Clemente, probably a 13-year pro now, plays for the Puerto Rican national team, was there. Another guy, DeAndre Spraggins, had been in the military for 4 years. I mean, those guys were almost as old as me. And they really made that first year easy. for me. And we were good, got off to a good start. Was able to go to Hodge the next year. That's when Brian actually came and worked for me after about 12 times, me trying to get him to do it. Finally did it our last year at Paris, and had a really good team that year, man. Some high-level pros, and just came up just short. Got beaten double overtime in the regional final to Johnny Estelle and Navarro, and it's probably to this day probably the most painful loss I've experienced. At that time, had really started as a young guy, had started kind of making relationships, competitively, but understanding the big picture, and Grant, Coach McCaslin, who I work for now, was at Midland, and, our teams would scrimmage each other. Met Greg Heyer, who was at Chipotle at the time, just out hustling, competing, but never losing sight that, you can do both. I mean, you can compete at a high level, and you can still have good relationships, as like Adam and I were talking before this thing started, man. I mean, we all remember when we were like little kids and you had your friends. You were most competitive with your best friends in the world. It'd lead to fights, video games, at the park, one-on-one in your driveway. And you the next day it's all good, or maybe even that hour. But somehow I think coaches get it twisted. It's like they either go, they don't want to build relationships outside of their staff because maybe they lose their edge, or they go so far the other way that they do build relationships and maybe they lose their competitive edge. And the reality is you can do both, But I had got to know those guys. Grant was at Midland. They won the national championship in 2007. They got beat in the national championship game in 2009. And he went to Midwestern State, and he helped me get the Midland job. We had 2 really good years at Midland. Got beat in the national championship game my last year there. And then once again, a relationship I had built paid dividends. Greg Heyer was at Southern Miss, and he was going to Wichita State. And he called me and he said, "Hey, man, I'm going to tell Coach Eustace that he should hire you." And it was that simple. Coach called me the next morning. I went out to Hattiesburg. Wasn't 100% sure if it's what I wanted to do or what I should do, but did it. And we went to the NCAA tournament our first year at Southern Miss. Had a great team, man. Got beat by Kansas State in Pittsburgh. And I tell Coach Eustace to this day, in my opinion, and he won the Big 12 twice. And so I hadn't been in the Big 12, but to him, I think that's still his greatest accomplishment, was winning the Big 12 regular season back-to-back times at Iowa State. But to me, I tell him getting an at-large bid at Southern Mississippi ranks way up there with like things that are incredibly hard to do. And was only there 1 year. We go to the NCAA tournament. Coach gets the Colorado State job. Go with him there. We're there 4 years. Again, unbelievable success. Went to the NCAA tournament, won a game, got beat by Louisville the year they won the whole thing. Had another really good year, went to the NIT. And then at this time, Grant McCaslin had been at Baylor. Obviously stayed really good friends. He gets the Arkansas State job. Hey, man, let's come do this. You can be the associate head coach. We were there 1 year, and that was a new experience, because at every other one of my stops had been entering a program that was very healthy, and it was more maintaining and trying to elevate. Paris had won a national championship. You had a championship culture there. Brian was a part of it. You go to Midland, they've had a long history, championship culture. Grant won a national championship there. Southern Miss, I get there, was, like I said, was there 1 year, went to the NCAA tournament. We inherited an NCAA tournament team at Colorado State, got to go to college, so going to Arkansas State was the first time that we actually had to kind of go into a situation where you feel like you're having to change the way people think. And it was a unique learning experience for myself, because I'd always been around guys. You weren't beating them down, but you were certainly trying to convince them, like, man, you can get beat. You're here and everybody's climbing up to get you. Like, they can beat you. That was like, you're trying to keep your team on edge. When you go in a situation like that, now you're trying to convince somebody that they can beat someone and you can do this. even though they don't necessarily believe it. But that was a fun year, man. We went on the road and beat Georgetown. We were 23.5-point underdogs. That was a fun night. And then we're there one year, tied the regular season record for most wins. And then North Texas opened up. Grant's from Irving. I'm from the Dallas area. It was kind of a no-brainer. Came into the same situation, and we've been here 3 years. So that's kind of how it's been. It's crazy, man. I still feel young, but it's going on 18 years for being in the college level. It's wild.
It is wild. It is wild. A lot of success, man. A lot of success. Been definitely so blessed. I think it was 4 times, maybe it's 3. You said 6. I don't know what you said, but a few times Ross recruited me. But I met him. I met you when you were an assistant for 4. I think it was your first year.
Yep.
So been very close friends ever since, and I learned probably more basketball in my 4 years prior, all in 1 year, partly because of the adversity and challenge that we had, the talent we had, and then just, managing a culture with detail and leadership that you did was incredible. I still say it to this day. Definitely the hardest job I've ever had. One of the most rewarding as well, because we finished so well, but absolutely love your story, man. It's been awesome to see it from afar too, and for you guys to win a championship again, just collecting a lot of rings, man, and you have a lot to do with that. So let's jump into UNT. So we'll kind of go 4 quarters. We'll go UNT. We'll go some career lessons. We'll go some vision, legacy, and then we'll do a little demonstration if we have time. So just talking UNT, what specifically you think makes UNT special? Obviously, you just talked about your career. You've been a lot of places, won a lot of places. Each place is unique, and you guys have built that into a place that is now a real power in the Conference USA. So what would you say it is that makes it unique and special?
I think most of us would agree, like the leadership above you, regardless of, budgets and finances and things that are very important in winning. But the leadership, Ren Baker, our athletic director, our president, they want to win, so they're committed to it. They're committed to doing it the right way, to giving student athletes the full experience, and putting things in place that you can compete. I think you've probably heard it before. A lot of people say, like, coaches can win games, but administrations win championships, and I think that's really important. And I think that's a big part of what makes North Texas special, on top of just the growth of this area. I mean, I know a lot of you guys have probably came through, the guys that are in state, you've been in the north side of the Metroplex with Denton, Argyle, Justin, Fort Worth, Frisco, McKinney, Louisville. I mean, it's exploding, this area. Campus is exploding. So really just got it at a right time.
And then what about Coach Mack? I know you guys go back, and I was a junior college assistant during those times too, when he was smacking us at Collin County. No offense, when he was at Midland, and you guys have had a long-standing relationship. What would you say about him that's enabled him to win everywhere he's been, similar to yourself? And what do you think, if you had to say 3 things to quantify what makes him so special at what he does, what would you say?
I would think he's one would be his belief in himself, which allows him to be very secure in who he is. And because he's extremely secure in who he is and his coaching abilities, he's never threatened by people around him. He legitimately empowers those around him. So I'm sure we've all experienced, and we all have egos. We all have our own insecurities. But he's very comfortable with who he is as a person. It starts with his faith. And he really does walk it. It's not just a talk, man. I mean, that is who he is, and I respect that about him more than anything. But his belief in the people that he's around, and that's probably why it works pretty well. I have I don't want to say realistic, pessimistic view of things. I'm more kind of the guy that's thinking I'm going to always get my butt kicked. even though maybe we're not getting our butt kicked, and Grant really believes that we're going to win. It's one of our core components of our program philosophy, but it speaks to who he is. He legitimately believes that if you get a team to believe that we can win a national championship at North Texas. That's what he told our guys. First team meeting. I want people to laugh at us. I want your family members to laugh at you and your friends, because everyone's going to tell you what you can't do. But he legitimately believes that we can do those things. And I think that's what's allowed him to always have success, and in short term us have success at here, where everyone else is thinking you can't do that and you shouldn't be able to do that. And then just his servant heart for serving others, and like I said, empowering others. And that starts at the top with him, and then I think it flows into our staff, then it flows into our GAs, flows into our student assistants, flows into our support staff, and it flows right into our players, where they legitimately can feel that and can sense that. And for us that have kids and multiple kids, you'll start seeing it that, like, our kids are no different, man. They know when mom and dad maybe are having a little tussle here on the side and things ain't quite right. And players can feel that, man. So players can sense that, and they know where they can navigate in creeks and crevices to maybe latch on to that and like, oh man, what's his deal? But Grant's got such a heart for serving other people, and it really flows through our whole program, and I think those three things just have allowed him to have the success that he's had. And he's been, like any of us that have won games, he's been extremely fortunate to coach very, very good players.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I can speak on Grant. I worked for him for 2 or 3 months when he hired me at Abilene Christian before he went to Baylor. And yeah, he's one of the special coaches and people in this business, similar to yourself. So no surprise you guys have had the success you had. Curious, tell us about the staff. You kind of talked about it coming from the top from Grant, and his belief and his servant mindedness and his walk in the walk. But how is it that your staff, I mean, you guys have it probably about as close-knit, celebrate each other's successes, go to lunch almost every day, just really genuinely like and care about each other and celebrate each other, which is a rare thing in this competitive, ego-driven business. So what would you say about your staff? What would you tell us about your staff? And then how would you say that's been cultivated?
I'll just kind of start with them, man. Like, start with our ops guy, Andy Schmidt, was a student assistant at Illinois for Bruce Weber and Gross, went to the NCAA tournament there, was an assistant at Commerce for Sam Walker, went to New Mexico State with Jans as the ops there, went to the NCAA tournament there, and now he's our ops guy. Chris Blakely, played at Abilene Christian, and he's our video coordinator, and he just is always trying to find new ways to help, Jareem and Matt, who you've talked about, and Jareem's really done a great job taking advantage of this time, and been vocal on platforms like this. And he's not, he does not get the credit he deserves for the level of basketball coach he actually is, man. He's got a big social media presence. He's really interesting, man. He keeps things so light and so funny, but make no mistake about it, he can coach basketball. I mean, he coaches the Virgin Islands senior national team, with pros, and he's coached them to the highest level finishes they've ever had in their FIBA tournaments. So he's unbelievable. Matt Brower, I kind of call him like the Scottie Pippen of our staff. You know what I mean? He just he can recruit, he can coach, he has good feel, he has good relationships. He can do it all, and he can dabble all in that. Was a great player from Texas, played at Wichita State, started on their Sweet 16 team as a sophomore, worked for me at Midland when we got beaten in the national championship game, had some really good years at Sam Houston as an assistant, was at Maryland as a video coordinator for Turgeon, and then was at the College of Charleston going to the NCAA tournament before he came here with us. Nelson Haggerty was a tremendous addition to our staff this year. I don't think we have the year that we had without him. Grant, Coach Mack and Hag worked together at Midwestern, and they went to 2 Elite Eights, and then Hag got the head coaching job there, and he went to Elite Eight as a coach and was the number 1 team in the country. And he's tremendous, man. His feel and his ability to relate to players and his ability to help Coach Mack was invaluable. He said, we don't have that, without it. And even in the past, like James Miller was with us at Arkansas State the first year here at North Texas. He's the associate head coach at New Mexico State now. They ain't lost a conference game in about 5 years. And John Trilly that's at Odessa now. I mean, we've just been really, really, really fortunate, And one thing that I had the privilege to do was work with Leonard Perry. He's the associate head coach at Pacific now. And they're coming off crazy. I mean, they won 23 games at Pacific, which is crazy. They had 10 scholarships. So, big shout out to them. But he really helped me learn this role as like an associate head coach role. And he took every bullet, anything ever something went wrong with Coach Eustacia, he always, took the blame for it. He never chunked people under the bus. And as we all know, sometimes that's all it takes, man, because head coaches can be in those modes and they don't even do it intentionally, but they can be in those places where they want to try to place blame. And all it takes is like, yeah, I don't know, coach, man. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know why he did that. And you're just throwing gasoline on the fire instead of just being like, hey, it was my fault, man. It was my fault. And ironically, when you do that, it kind of, it just puts the fire out and then he moves on, So that was something that I took from him and I learned. And when we first got to Arkansas State, we talked about it as a staff and, people may have heard it before, but we just sat down and we just was like, look, man, we're going to be each other's agents. A lot of us have agents on here. A lot of us are contemplating to have a sell. It's like, we're going to be each other's biggest agents, man. We're going to sell each other harder than anybody else, and if we have disagreements with each other, which we do because we're brothers, we're going to handle it behind closed doors, and if someone's, in their feelings that day or being a little moody because maybe they said something and Mac didn't like it, now you don't want to say nothing, like, then I'm going to say something. Say, like, hey, man, like, don't get in your feelings, man, but that's the relationship that we have, and we try to celebrate each other, and it's authentic and it's not phony. It's not just, hey, let's just do that. But that's the heart we enter into it with the staff, and it comes out, and that's what it's been, man. And our chemistry is great. And like I said, man, I think our players feel it. They understand it. There is no his guy who recruited him, he did this and I did that. And I'll be the first to tell you, man, I mean, Jareem signed the player of the year in our league. Matty B signed James Reese. Like that's, as we talk about, let's sell each other so we don't even feel like we have to do that. Because a lot of times in this business, you can feel like you're the only advocate you got. So, that's how we operate, man.
Yeah, I think, that's a rare thing. No wonder, like I said, it leads to championships when you do that. You can have that kind of selflessness because it does trickle to your team. I think that, you guys have had so many talented guys there, staff member-wise, and have those now. And Grant, obviously kind of an underrated skill for him is just identifying pieces that fit not only on the floor, but staff-wise. I think he's done an elite job of that, to give him credit. And then, yeah, I think an associate head coach's role on the staff is so underrated, because I think, and I can say this for Leonard Perry and also for you, I've been around LP and I've been around you. I think you guys are so special in how you build that cohesion up, and have everybody else's back and keep everybody as a unified force, a unified one voice, but also how you protect them going down and lead them going down. So I think there's credit to you, credit to, I know associate head coach is a hard role to play, but I think you do it as well as anybody. And I think there's a lot of credit to you, man. And I love to be each other's agent. Nobody really talks about that a lot. I think that's definitely a tweetable quote and just a memorable quote for people to remember because, when you're doing what you're supposed to do and each other doesn't care who gets the credit, but also is promoting the other one, then you don't feel like you have to do it yourself, which so many times in this business, anybody can be guilty at any point in time.
Yeah, when you enter into it, like I said, it may seem initially maybe it felt like it's not forced, but this is, but then like I said, it actually becomes a genuine, authentic approach because you feel it, and we're all on the road a lot, and you get asked, hey, how is so-and-so, and why not celebrate them, man, and go over the top. Like, he's unbelievable. And the same way, it's easy to go the other way too, like if things aren't going well, like, oh, who signed him? He was a bad player. So-and-so signed, like it's easy to get caught in that stuff, man. So no, you just got to try to avoid it, man. You got to try to celebrate each other and realize, that if we're going to advance as we all want to do, whether it's financially, whether it's elevated jobs or elevated job status, you win, you win.
Yeah, Jerome Tang, I actually heard him on a Zoom, and he talked about the exact same thing with his staff. And obviously, they were number one in the country and had a really special year too. But it kind of goes without saying. But when you're in the business, it's hard to kind of keep that front and center because of the things you said, our own personal drive, or our own personal desire to want to have success or want to maybe get a pat on the back because you're not getting one. So
Yep.
To create that amongst the staff is really big time. So salute to you guys. And that's definitely an authentic and special thing. Hopefully we can all take something from that. If you had to say one thing you love about these four categories that you guys do specifically at UNT, what is one thing you love offensively, defensively, in your culture, and in recruiting? So we'll start with offense.
Offensive, we made some changes, and obviously I see Adam, he's on my screen. I don't know if anybody else from the league is in it, but we did make a few changes this year offensively, and we had been Coach Mack's really good at joysticking things, and he can really put people in places to have success. But we felt like when we had some injuries at the end of the last year that it really handcuffed us. Now, don't get me wrong, man, you lose your starting guards, like you ain't winning no games anyways. But we feel like we didn't have a chance. So we went to a more motion style of play this year, a little more free flowing. But one thing we did really try to focus in on, and it's not so much maybe offensively, but more of a thought process from a philosophy standpoint, is we tried to tell guys what they did well offensively and what they could do well to have success, as opposed to what they do not do well. Case in point, player A is in the corner. He's not a great shooter. His man is helping off of him. He's wide open for a reason. He shoots it. We've all been like, hey, man, that's not a good shot for you. We've all said it's a terrible shot. But we tried to focus on more like, hey, man, it's a great time to back cut right here. Your guy's over helping. He's ball watching, cut behind his head. Really just tried to focus more on, hey, let's focus in on that part holistically, but offensively more so than any other part. Like, let's really try to tell guys what they do well and help them do the things they do well. Defensively.
Touch real quick on this, Ross. I was with Coach Mack in a gym middle of the year, Louisville, watching a high school game, and he talked about even in film session how sometimes you didn't show negative clips anymore. You just only showed the positive, like, hey, this is what it looks like, and that was really powerful.
Yeah, just trying to shift the mindset, man. Again, I'm young and still have my boyish good looks, but I kind of had like an old school mentality, man. Honestly, Brian worked for me. He's I'm comfortable in confrontation. I can be combative. But the reality is we are coaching a little different cat than we were even 4 or 5 years ago. And really, you should always be trying to learn and grow as a coach. So, that was something that we made a conscious effort of, is like, why focus on the negative? Like, why not show them what you want them to do? So instead of showing a guy trying to split a ball screen and get the ball knocked out of his hands, why not just show him coming off, making a simple read and celebrating that, Now, if it's effort, if we're talking effort, blockouts, loose balls, I mean, all bets are still off, But in the fundamental teaching of the game, instead of coming in there and showing 15 turnovers, show 5 good passes. And hey, man, this is the play we got to make. Defensively, we just wanted to be more versatile. Our numbers statistically, defensively, if you look at our numbers, 2018, 2019, Ken Palm efficiency, we had the best defense in the league, number one. But did it actually make impact on the game? I don't know. I guess it depends on how you look at it. But for us, we felt like we had to be more versatile. We had to be able to mix our defenses up. We had to be able to mix our ball screen coverages up. We had to be able to keep the offense off balance a little bit. Because we just felt like we were too easy to play against. Like, bend, don't break. You can come down. You can run anything you want. We'll be reactionary. We'll always be playing chase a little bit, but, minimal damage will be done, but there will be no impact. So that was something that we had to kind of take a step back from and, not carry pride or, be rigid and be like, it's good enough. We did not feel like it was good enough, even though numbers may tell you that it was, and I know there are you can make cases for and against the analytics. And some people would say, well, if it was the number one defense, what are you changing it for? But that's what we decided to do. And we'll talk a little bit more about that at kind of the end of that with some of the video stuff. But, and then what was the other one? Offense, defense. And then what was the other one?
Culture and recruiting. So 2 separate ones.
Culture, man, which is obviously probably overused at this part, in my opinion, but we really tried to get guys that wanted to be here. Wanted to be at North Texas. Adam and I talked about this probably not too long ago, man. We really tried to get guys that want to be there and want to be part of it, and don't feel like they're doing you a favor by being there. Like I said, we took over a situation where they had came off back-to-back 20 loss seasons. They won 6 games before we got there, and I did feel like maybe there was a sense that if you did get a good player, they almost felt like they didn't really want to be there, And so we just really tried to get guys that want to be there, want to be good teammates, because if they can hang in there with their teammates, then they can get through just about anything. Mm-hmm. And want to work, and love to show up every day. And that's where we really tried to do that from a culture standpoint. Our core program philosophy is believe, serve, and compete. I talked about the belief part not too long ago with Mac, and the servant part and the competition part. And just one quick point on culture and serving. I mean, Roosevelt Smart, as a sophomore, almost scored 1,000 points in one season. I think he scored 889, second team all league, MVP of the CBI, just had a magical season, and comes back with all these expectations as a junior, tears his calf muscle after our scrimmage, and we scrimmaged TCU. He was the best player on the floor. Tears his calf muscle. He's out 6 weeks. The dynamic of our team shifted. We were better in 2018, 2019 than the year before. We had better players around him. So he comes back into this new rule, and he never could settle in. And his role diminished. He only averaged 10 points a game then. Then going into his senior year, and this is kind of the heart of the program that we wanted. For whatever reason, Javion Hamlet was emotionally attached to the number 3. Mm-hmm. And that was Roosevelt's number. Now, keep in mind, that was his number that he broke shattered school records, did all this, but he really didn't have an emotional attachment to it, even though it was his number. And going into his senior year, not only did he sacrifice no longer starting, he gave up his jersey number, and I'll always, remind him of those things, and I'll always use that as when you talk about serving others and care about your other teammates, man, that is not easy to do. And then just competing on a daily basis, within everything, academics, on the floor. And then, recruiting, what I just mentioned is what we try to find,
No, that's great. That's great. Appreciate you sharing that, Coach. Just kind of as we get into the end of North Texas and shift to some stuff from your career, what would you say from a social justice standpoint? Obviously, that's the main main topic for all of us, probably news-wise, that we're tuned into and following, addressing with our teams. So what would you just say? You not have to get too long into it, but what would you say is something that you guys have done, or an approach you've taken, or something that you've tried to figure out with your team as far as how to lead them during this kind of time?
Man, I think we're all, in similar situations where doing a lot of listening, doing a lot of listening, a lot of conversations. I think it gets back to relationships at its core. And the one thing that I've really tried to encourage our guys, and it really anybody I talked to, we talked about it a little bit this morning, just really encouraging them in the midst of anger, frustration, disappointment, to channel it in a positive direction and use those frustrations to really, really do some things and end up on not put yourself in a position that distracts what's going on, but use your platform, use your voices in a positive manner. And more importantly, like, really be educated. Like don't just take what you see on social media or even on news outlets and take it to be 100%, educate yourself on. Everybody's talking about November 3rd, which is obviously tremendously important, right? But what may be important in that? Who your local district attorney is, who's your local police chief, who's the mayor of the county you live in, and really starting it at a smaller place that can really impact change in your own community, so just trying to educate them and trying to get them to make sure they understand how things can work, and how you can make change, positive change.
For sure. That's always been who you've been. We talked about this some. I know it's not a topic we'll dive too deep into, but we talked about just walking the walk has been so important, but then actually having more of the conversation now and mixing the two of those together. So definitely know you're going to do major things there. In any of your small circles that we're all in, we have a chance to make a difference and make an impact and start having the conversation and getting educated. Kind of switching gears to your career reflections, lessons. What's something that you would tell the younger Ross Hodge today that you know now?
Man, a lot, but for whatever reason, one thing comes to mind is there's going to be some like crazy bad days that you're going to feel like you can't recover from, whatever it may look like. You know what I mean? Like somebody got in trouble on campus,
right.
Somebody's being you're just an injury, what can just seem like it's such a deflating moment in that particular moment won't be quite as bad as you think it will be, and so I would try to remind a younger me, because we all have those days. We've all had them.
Yep.
So-and-so did something, so-and-so got something happened, and you just think it's can't get any worse.
It's the end of the world. It's the end of the world.
But you take a step back, you have a little perspective, and a lot of times tough moments, really positive things are bred from those. I'm not sure if we didn't lose 7 straight games to end the 2018-2019 season. We had the best start in school history. We were 16-1. We were 20-4. We were 8-3 in league. And then, like I said, got hurt. It's not an excuse. It happened. You got to overcome it. But I'm not so sure if we don't go through that, we don't experience what we just experienced this last year. And then make no mistake about it, we had unbelievable fortune with injuries. We were us and I believe UNC Asheville were the only teams in the country to start the same lineup every game. So, we were fortunate. But that's what I would say, man. Don't get caught up in thinking this is it. You can't grow from it.
No, it's good. Really good. What would you say, Coach, what would you talk about your why, to why you coach and kind of what gets you going? And then I'll switch to another question. You've won 86% of your games as a head coach. So after you tell us about your why, what's one thing you would take from every head coach that you work for when you become a head coach at the Division I level?
Yeah, man, I think ultimately my why is just I like people. I like being around people. I love helping people, whether it's my friends, whether it's trying to, help them be better, whether it's me learning from them, whether it's our players now, whether it's just, I really enjoy trying to help people. And obviously from a competitive standpoint, I love to compete regardless of what it is. So, that's, I feel like that's the path God chose for me, man. I don't feel like it's even something I'm setting out to do. I think it's just something that I'm trying to stay in the right place spiritually and mentally. And it's just, I'm kind of the boat and, it's the oar behind me that's steering it, but that's ultimately why I do it, man. I enjoy people. It warms my heart to see people around me be successful, players, other staff members. Coaching and winning, and learning. I mean, I've taken a little bit from every coach that I've been around. Like I said, Coach Bishop really believed in me, gave me an avenue, showed me that there was no time, as far as like there wasn't an 8 to 5 for him. He was on the weekends. He was, really, really involved in my life. As a matter of fact, when I was in high school, I'm not going to say what I did. I did something really stupid. But my parents made me call Coach Bishop and tell him that was my punishment.
Other way around. How about that? Other way around.
And that was
the coach making you call your parents.
No, that was a tough conversation, man. That's how much respect I had for him, and that's how much respect my parents had for him.
Wow.
Coach Foy, just a really, really good basketball coach, man.
Really
had a chance to play for him for 3 years because I redshirted for a year, and then work with him. And he was never afraid to ask other people what they should do. I saw him. He would call Scott Jernander at San Jack, who's a Hall of Fame coach. He would call Pat Smith at Trinity Valley. He would call Sperlin, who was at Blinn at the time, and he would ask those guys. He would call Dale Dotson at Lon Morris. He was an unbelievable coach. He won a national championship. He was National Coach of the Year. But he was never afraid to ask other people their opinions and learn from it and take something from someone else. Sam Walker, like I said, he was the winningest coach at Commerce, man. He probably helped me understand the work-life balance. He's probably as good as I've been around. He really cares about coaching. He's won championships. He's won more games than anyone at that school, but he was not someone that whether it was, internal, he never outwardly felt like, he was not a guy that, was in the office until midnight every night. He had 4 kids. He had a wife. And he took care of that, and then, man, had the opportunity of a lifetime to work for Larry Eustace for 5 years, man. He was National Coach of the Year, won the Big 12 twice, was won 27 5 games at 4 schools. Yeah, 4 schools, Utah State, Idaho. No, 5 schools, Southern Miss, Colorado State. And he just taught me how it's a simple game. It's a very, very simple game that you don't have to make that complicated, man, and that listening, I say this all the time, our players would repeat this sentence for me if they were on this, because I tell them all the time that, and coach taught me this, that like listening is a skill, listening is a talent, and he talked to our team all about listening, and the best players are the best listeners. Best players can take things from a coach's mouth. They can hear you say it, and then they can go do it. So even right now, he would use this example. There's 21 people on this deal right now. Well, somebody's really listening and someone's halfway listening, and I'm not offended. Trust me. But someone's listening the most, and someone will take this with them the most. And he taught me that. And he taught me what you practice on a daily basis should show up in a game. So I should be able to watch, UTSA play a game, and I should be able to notice from watching them play what they do in practice on a daily basis. And the things that coach cared about, getting back, rebounding the ball with 2 hands, and taking care of the ball, that was what we did. That's what showed up in our games. There'll be other areas of the game that we weren't great at, but that showed up in games. And then Coach Mack, like I said, his belief and his willpower to not accept not being good enough or not thinking we can win a game. He don't think that way. He thinks there's a way to win every game, and he thinks we can win every game.
No, that's good. Put those together. That's definitely adding some more tricks to your bag right there, man. That's good. That's good.
Fortunate.
You worked for some great coaches. So we'll open up real quick before Ross gets into some little video demonstration before we close. If anybody has a few questions, we'll open up to maybe 2 or 3 questions, and then we'll get to the video.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about your practice structure? Are there certain things you guys are trying to get accomplished every day? Certain things in your program you're going to touch on every day, or is it just kind of depend on what exactly you're trying to get accomplished through the week?
No, that's a good question. I'd say early on, we one thing that we made some changes this year, like I kind of alluded to, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more when we do the video, but we were probably too far on the competitive side the first couple years. Everything was body on body, and we did it on purpose. We felt like we had to. We were changing a culture. We were changing work habits. But, man, we beat the hell out of our team. And it probably cost us with injuries and mentally. And so we tried to be a little more conscious of that this year. And we did introduce some like 5-on-0 offensive stuff that we had never done. But for the most part, man, we're like everybody else, man. We're gonna hit some defensive drills. We're gonna hit some shell. One of the things we did go to this year was even like we switched up some of our block out stuff to block out on pads instead of blocking out live bodies. But we're gonna hit those areas pretty much every day. We made some changes, and so we knew we were gonna have to be better at rotating and scrambling and playing disadvantaged basketball, and we drilled that a lot every day. Rotations, a 1-man rotation, a 2-man rotation, a 3-man rotation, a shell rotation. And so that was integrated into our daily practice every single day.
Great question, Zane. Zane is a new head coach, so I'm sure he's going to steal a few nuggets to implement in his culture. New head coach at Western New Mexico, correct, Coach? Yeah, congratulations to you, man. We'll take a couple more, and then we'll let Coach get into some video demonstration. If anybody has anything more. If not, we'll get straight to it.
Yeah, I'll shoot one. Obviously, I know you, Ross, but as far as recruiting, are you guys recruiting? Obviously, you got 13 scholarships. You're trying to get the 13 best pieces because you got obviously you got a guy like Smart, and not saying you guys recruited over him, but again, there may have been just a better fit for that team despite what he had accomplished prior. So you guys always looking to upgrade. And I won't even talk about you guys lost Ryan Woolridge, and you bring in the player of the year. Ryan Woolridge played at Gonzaga. You started for the number one team at times last season. But is it something that you guys every year you're trying to hit that home run in recruiting, or is it a deal to where you're putting pieces into place, and do you recruit guys you think won't start? Just
No,
philosophy there.
yeah, no, that's a good question, man. I think the biggest thing we try to evaluate is like, do they love to play? And that's probably that's like the number one thing that Mac wants to know. Like, does the dude love to play? Because he just feels like if a dude loves to play and he's competitive and he's coachable, he's gonna get better, and that competition level only will make us all better. And going through what we went through in 18-19 where we got hurt and didn't have enough, that shifted us too. There was no more because we had that whole team coming back from the CBI from the year before. And so we probably were maybe a little that way, what you were thinking, like, let's not upset the apple cart. We got these guys coming back, and maybe you recruit that way and it hurt us. So then, you're just kind of like, I mean, we're semi-conscious of class balance, but as we all know nowadays, I mean, you almost can't think that way, man. You almost got to try to be as good as you can every year, because if you start thinking I'm going to balance this class out, dudes are out, so you almost have to just try to be as good as you can each year. I think our JUCO background helps us with that, and just try to get guys that are competitive, that are tough, that want to be coached, and I mean, just like you guys with Wallace and Jackson, I mean, you think you're going to get good players. We thought Javion was going to be good, but you don't think they're going to be, he's going to be player of the year in the league,
Yeah.
they kind of take off on that trajectory, so that's a good question. I mean, I think it's probably what we all try to battle a little bit. Do you put somebody on top of each other, and now somebody's disgruntled? And man, I think probably for all of us, man, you better be just trying to get the best players that are the best people that you feel like you can mold into a team, and they actually care about other people. Because some people will tell you, if you listen well enough, some people will tell you exactly what they want in recruiting. It's never going to change, never going to change. It's what they want. So if player A wants to be a point guard and he isn't the point guard, it don't matter what happens. No matter how many games you win, he ain't going to be happy. And he told you that. So it's tough.
No doubt.
Great question. Great answer. And to give North Texas credit, not that you need more from me or from any of us on this call, but, I mean, to lose Ryan Woolridge, who did what he did and accomplished what he did, and then to replace it with the player of the year, and then, truth be told, quiet as kept, to lose Emoji Gibson and to be able to sign the class you have on paper and have the guys you have coming back, is a credit to you guys. Is in this transfer day and age, to lose back-to-back, basically your starting backcourt, in 2 years, not easy to do, and definitely not easy to win a championship right after. So credit to you guys, man. But let's get your share screen real quick, Coach, and let you.
Hey, Coach, I just got one.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Coach Kareem Brown,
What's
Niagara
up, Coach?
County. I'm good. How are you? I'm good. Hey, I know you talked last night about kind of putting your program together, and you don't think you're ready. What's kind of like your ideal program? I mean, you've been a couple of places. You've obviously been a head coach, and we all got visions. What do you think your ideal program? Hey, do you want to start at the high major? Do you want to be at a program where you can start small? Like, what's kind of your vision of where you want to start off at?
Shoot, man, I don't know. Whoever's going to pay you the most money. I'm just playing. No, I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier with. I think you really gotta look into the administration and who you work for, man. And whether it's at a low major level, a JUCO, a D2, a NAIA, high major, Big 12, what the athletic director and president, I think if their vision are kind of aligned with your vision, you're going to have an opportunity to have success. If you can have success, you can move up, or you can make that situation better. So for me personally, man, it'll always kind of be centered around who I'm going to be doing it for, you know, and can you win there? And hey, man, we're all good coaches, honestly. I mean, everybody knows what they're doing. And I think too often people want to be a head coach so bad they take bad jobs. And I don't care how good of a coach you are, man. There's some jobs you can't win at. You know, it's not set up for it. And there's a reason why some jobs are traditionally always losing, you know, unless they get an administration change, and then maybe things change that way. So for me, that's what I'm really paying attention to, you know, is like, who is my boss going to be, you know, and what's his stake in this, you know, and how successful does he want to be?
Good question, Reem. Appreciate that, man. Mary, you want to share your screen? We'll take maybe a couple questions at the end.
We got Jason today.
Yeah, Jason, go ahead, man. I didn't see that.
Coach, I'm a sophomore in high school from New York. I want to coach when I'm older.
What's up, man?
Can you just like talk about what the role of like an associate head coach is, or is that like just another word for like assistant? Can you just that briefly?
Yeah, Jason, first of all, credit to you for being on this call, man, and investing in your craft way in advance, man. That means great things are ahead for you, man. Salute to you.
Thank you.
Good question, man. I think some of it depends on the person that you work for. Sometimes it can be maybe just a title. But like I mentioned, Coach Mack earlier, man, he's unbelievable, man. He's so secure. He gives me such a voice in our program, such an opportunity to really share his vision and be part of it. And so for me personally, I just feel like responsible for everything, you know, and try to be the conduit between Coach Mack and everyone else, you know, and try to be right in the middle of it and try to make sure that his concerns are being voiced in a manner that's productive down, and make sure that these guys' concerns are being heard and validated in a manner up, and trying to make as many decisions that I can take off his plate. I try to, you know, and typically I think everybody's, and I do not mean this, Brian knows me as well as anybody. I don't mean this egotistically, man. I got less than an ego, man. I know what this thing is about. It's about people and players. I've been really fortunate, but it's just the way our program goes. If someone asks Coach Mack, you know, it's just usually like, well, what Ross say, you know, or if he asks Dream and those guys, and they'll just be like, well, what Ross say, you know, and it's just being in that and trying to help facilitate and smooth everything over, man, and take the hits both ways. You know, if people are kind of frustrated with the head coach, then take that bullet too, man, because we tend to forget head coaches are people. Mm-hmm. They need grace and mercy as well. You know, we always want grace and mercy on the other end, but it's difficult being in that chair, you know, as we all know that have been in it. So just trying to be a liaison would be a good word, you know, and try to be the second in command and try to help everybody do their job the best that they can do it. What I try to do.
Thanks, Coach.
Good question, man.
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Jason. All right, drum roll, the moment we've all been waiting for.
All right. I'm trying to go through it fairly quickly for time's sake. Let me see. Let me pull this up. Can everybody see that?
No. Hold on, let me see. No, not yet.
Oh, hold on. Okay, here. This is hot. I forgot I need to hit that.
There we go.
Now we should be good, right?
Yep.
Everybody see that? Okay. I'm gonna push it back a little bit. We're not gonna watch that. We kind of talked about the believe, serve, and the compete. There's our staff. We talked about that. But before that was last year. That was 2018, 2019, and you can see kind of at the bottom, you see all those pinks. Those are L's, you know, and all the green is dubs. We had a great start. Didn't play that difficult of a schedule, but we felt like we needed some change. I talked about the staff. That's Andy left to right, or my left to right. I don't know, but Andy's at the front of the bench. Chris Blakely, Nelson Haggerty, Space, myself, Matt, and Jareem. And then this is a great book, man. And we read this book as a staff, and it really helped center us going into these changes. Power of a Humble Life. I would encourage any of you guys, if you're a reader, if you're looking for a new book, if you're looking for something to do, read this, man. It's really good, man. Talks about pride, how pride always comes before the fall, and how powerful being humble and approaching things with humility can be. And this was at the heart of our book, because this was at the heart of a lot of our changes we had to make. We had to open ourselves up. We had to seek advice. Grant spent a lot of time talking to Ben McCullum at Northwest Missouri State. A Division II, had the best offense ever in Division II. Won multiple national championships, multiple undefeated seasons. He was a heavy influence. So that's a great book, man. I would encourage you to get it. We talked about believe, serve, and compete. We saw that. I talked on that earlier with Roosevelt and Jareem, and then we're going to compete in all things. And this is just some things we did different, man. You can have some fun. This would be before practice. Coach was asking about some things practice. Our strength coach did a great job of just like some races, and like competitively doesn't necessarily mean you just got to beat the hell out of each other. You can have some fun with it. So we do little things like relay races, and you get on this team, you get on that team. And this is how we would kind of start our practice. Even after we'd stretch, we'd have this, and just have some fun with it, man. Winner, loser. Losers do push-ups. They have fun with it. Rock, paper, scissors. Whoever wins, you got to touch the other one before they get to the other side. Just anything like that, that could add a little life to practice we like. Well, we settled in on our changes, okay? Offensively, we knew we had to run less sets, and we had to play at a more favorable tempo for us. And I know a lot of people love pace, but for us, when we went back and evaluated how we played, we took too many bad shots, and it directly impacted our defense. And we sat there and we watched the national championship game probably 6 times, Texas Tech and Virginia. And we all know when you get into March, late season basketball, for the most part, unless you have unique players, which Adam and them do at UTSA, they can jump up and make shots from anywhere. It turns into a grind, man. It turns into a grind. Hard to score, half court, walking it up. And so we just felt like, man, if that's how the end is going to be, let's play the beginning that way. Defensively, we felt like we had to be more aggressive and disruptive. We wanted to be more versatile and harder to play against. And then I talked about earlier, overall, we just wanted to focus on, hey, what do we do well, and not so much what we don't do well. Okay. Specifically, offensively, you can see what we ended up doing. Number 1 in efficiency, number 1 in 3-point percentage, number 1 in 2-point percentage, number 2 in free throw percentage. But look at our tempo. We were 350th out of 355 teams at tempo. And we knew Coach Adams at Texas Tech, he would always tell me, because he was very gracious this summer, and he'd always say, man, a good defense's best friend is a patient offense. A good defense's best friend is a nice patience offense. So we kind of adopted that, and that's what we were able to do. Looking specifically at the defensive side of the ball, okay? This is what we sold out to. No middle drives. We're going to push the ball to the sideline. We wanted to load help on the midline. Eliminate reversals, side-to-side movement. We wanted to influence drives, not allow drives. We didn't want to give up the paint. We wanted to switch ball screens on and off, which we never did the year before. And we knew we were going to have early help, which was different. The year before, we were like, hey, man, you guard your man, make them score over you, slow to help, slow to rotate. And we just felt like we had to do these things. And so here you can kind of see the side in action. Okay, everybody see this? Pretty good? Okay. And you can just kind of see it. And right here, you're going to see James Reese. He's going to actually push Dang out to switch this down screen, which we never did that before. You see Javion, he's got him on kind of like on the side. He's going to try to keep him on the side. Dang doesn't want to allow this easy reversal to the middle. But if it goes way to half court, then that's fine. Switch the ball screen. Again, you can see the ball hasn't got moved side to side. In the middle, and not going to spend a lot of time about this because we could be here forever talking ball screen coverages. In the middle, we forced everything left. Okay, we forced everything left in the middle. And so we forced it left and switched it. And one thing that we decided to on the ball screen switches, we went over the top. Okay, we wanted to go over the top. We did not want to go under the ball screen on the switch because you get rolled up under. Okay, and it can confuse the offensive member a little bit because he may think he's got 2 on the ball when he really just has 1 on the ball. But we switched that. Again, no middle, no paint, and you force a shot clock violation. Okay, here we are against Rice, who's actually really hard to guard. Switching the interchange, early help here on the rotation. Good high hands, no middle. Takes away the middle, funnels it right to your help. Same thing, no middle stance by 55. Okay, he comes up, again, no middle. You got the ball on the same side, kept it out of the paint, come up with a turnover. It was a hell of a play by DJ. Okay, same thing here on the sides. We forced everything down. Force everything down. No middle. See the no middle stance, forcing it into your help. Okay, same thing here. Again, no middle. Loaded up on the midline. Really, you can see Mo under the basket. He's coming early, super early. Okay, right there, forcing it down. No middle, keeping him over here on the sideline, not letting him get to the middle. Help comes early, and again, we're able to force a turnover. Okay, and again, you can chime in on questions of this stuff. I don't want to feel like I'm sitting here showing our team film, so if you got any questions, please. I know you said wait till the end, but even as we're going through it, because trust me, I can get going. We'll come in after a game. Coach Mack will be like, hey, man, how much film you got to show? I'll be like, I don't know, 5 minutes. 45 minutes later, we're still sitting there like listening to me talk. So trust me, it can get going. This is the ball screen portion. And again, we blued it and tried to keep it down and tried to keep it on a side. And we switched it. And this little guy right here for Little Rock was the player of the year in the Sun Belt right there. He's a 20-point-a-game scorer. The year before, we never would have switched our big on him, ever. But what we did was we just felt like it stagnated them and turned them into one-on-one players. Again, now you will play against some elite players, and you're not stopping them anyways. One guy ain't stopping them. So we would just tell Zach, and I would show Zach on film. I would freeze it right here like I have it frozen. And I would say, Zach, look at your help, man. Look at where your help is. You got one job. No rhythm 3, and don't let them beat you middle. We're loaded up on the paint. You can see everybody's just basically standing there. And we stagnate them, and we made them take a tough contested shot. And some people may make it. Well, I got to mute this thing. Kind of same thing here against Utah State. Here we get the switch, and you can see we got the little on the big down there in the paint. And it's hard for – it's not the NBA game. It's hard for colleges to take advantage of mismatches. The spacing is different. We don't have 3 seconds, defensive 3-second calls. And so they end up trying to force the ball into the middle, and we get a turnover.
Are you trying to front that, coach? If he
Yes.
gets on little, front him?
Yeah, that's what you're saying. You're fighting like hell to a front. You got to get all the front. You got to make the ball come over the top. And you got to have good ball pressure.
Different coverage. If it's big on big, are you still trying to front or 3/4 or stay behind?
Big on big, we'll try to front if it's a really good post player, like somebody you don't want to have the ball. Other than that, we'll try to be aggressive, but you got to be ready to come off of him and be ready to help and be the first line of defense. Okay, here we got the switch again. They try to roll. DJ up under, but see how stagnant they are. No ball movement, one-on-one player, okay? And then they force it into the post, and we come up with a turnover. Same thing here in the middle. We ice it, we switch it. Zach does a good job. A long contested 2, that's what you want, okay? With the changes that we were making, we knew we were going to have to get better at rotating, okay? Because we did not do that a lot. So we knew a couple things that we had to figure out who was going to be the rim. Who has the rim? And then who's going to be the sink guy and who's going to be the rover guy. And so we incorporated it. Coach, you asked about drills. This is how we would start practice a lot with these, okay? You come here, this is the baseline rotation. You know, we'd start with just one guy. One guy right here, and then just your simple come and take a charge. Knew we were going to have to take charges. Knew we were going to have early help. He's the rim guy. Okay, Javion right here, Hamlet. He's not get your butt down in the stand, start over. He's trying to act like a rim guy right here. Comes over. He's the rim. Okay. Here we are. Now you got the rim and the sink guy. Okay. Now you got the rim and the sink guy. Mo has the rim. JJ is the sink guy. And in the past with Mo as the rim, we may not go, but now you're just going, man. You're going. As soon as that ball's put on the floor, you're going. And this guy's got to sink and put a body on him.
Ross, how much did you guys kind of steal as you put in a new defense that you hadn't coached before, and how much did you guys kind of customize and make it your own?
Stole a lot. Mark Adams at Texas Tech was unbelievably gracious, helped us. We had to incorporate it for our personnel. Their personnel was a little different, but we integrated a lot from what they were doing, man. We both coached against him. Grant and myself coached against Mark when he was at Howard, and it was miserable. It was the worst experience ever. So I'm hoping we can be better at it. We were okay defensively, but we got to be better at it. Now we add the third people. So Javion's at the rim. Mo is the sink guy, and he's actually communicating. We worked on this a lot to have him communicate to the bottom guy. And then Dang is the rover, and he'll go right to this Conference USA logo, ready to take the first pass out. Okay? So he goes, Dang tracks it right to the Conference USA. Here we're doing it like incorporating a little block out into it. Shot goes up, you block out, get a rebound area, grab the ball with 2 hands. Okay, now here we are in the 4-on-4. Okay, he goes, rim guy comes over. T-Bell is the sink guy. Maya tracks it right to the logo. He's playing both. Maya right here at the Conference USA logo will take the first pass out. He takes the first pass there, no middle. T-Bell's at the rim. DJ does a good job of staying connected, and we force a tough 2. And like I said, Coach Eustace always said, man, if enlarge this, if it happens in practice, it should show up in a game. So whatever you're working on in practice, whatever drills you're doing, it should show up in a game. Here we are at Marshall. Tavion Kinsley, all-league player on some draft boards. One guy's not stopping him unless you have an elite defender. But you can see how loaded up we are. Mo's at the rim. Thomas, number 13, is going to be the sink guy. And then Roosevelt Smart is going to be the rover. Mo comes early with high hands. Thomas Bell's sinking down. Rose is right where he needs to be at the logo, and they throw it right to him. Okay, same thing here. Okay, different scenario. Now you got some movement. Mo's at the rim. Again, you see Javion. He's the sink guy. Zero Reese. He's going to track it right to the logo, and you come up with a steal.
Hey, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Had a question. Jordan Bailey at Washita Baptist. Related to the sink, the rover, are you guys telling them that they can turn and put their eyes on the ball, or are you wanting to maintain sight of the ball and their space, or is it just all abandonment? What's that look like? Or do you talk about it?
No, that's a good question. You have to get to the logo. We would tell them turn, get to the logo, And then, yeah, you got to have like an awareness of where everyone else is for sure. And we talk about offensive awareness all the time in our spacing, right? We're always talking to our players about you got to have good spacing. You got to know where your teammates are. Very rarely do we talk about that in defense. And we knew that we had to get better at that. You have to know where everyone else is, okay? Like you have to communicate that. So that's what we would tell them. Here, same thing. Now we're taking charges, which we knew charges were going to be a big part of what we wanted to do. We took 66 with early help coming over and rotating. Seam was hard. Seam's the hardest one because we want to decide. And so it's like, okay, how much can you give up before he's on the side? You're giving up no middle. So we really had to work hard on this seam drive or a slot drive. But same thing. He's coming over and he's taking the charge. Okay. And we also wanted to wall up at the rim and not foul. We talked about that a lot. Come over, take the charge. Okay. Here we are walling up. He's late. Yes, sir.
Hey, Coach, how did you have any guys not buy in to take charges, and how did you get them, or did they refute that?
No, they bought in, man. And early on, the best thing, in my opinion, that you can do is if they don't do it, you take them out. Because you can scream, you can yell, you can curse them, you can whatever, you know. But have them come over, even if it's for a minute or two. Even if it's one of your better players, you don't feel like you can have them over there long, man. Pull them out, sit them down, like, hey, man, you got to take charges. We need you to take charges to win, you know. So they bought into it, and we practiced taking charges a lot, you know, and celebrated it, really celebrated it in film. But here, if you're late, we worked on this. You're late, now you're just coming over, walling up, getting your hands out of there, making sure you're not coming down and fouling at the end. Here we are with a two-man. Rim, sink. Talking, early talk. Rim, sink, telling them to go. Now you just add the third guy in, okay, with the pads. Rim, sink, rover. Okay, telling them to go, sink down, shot goes up, come and hit with the pad. Okay, now you see it in shell. Okay, same thing. Rim, sink, big fella's the rover. Okay, he takes the first pass out. Switch the ball screen. Again, no middle, no paint, force a turnover. Same thing here. And the guy makes a hell of an individual offensive move right here. But we're where we need to be. He gets beat. You see we're at the rim. We got the sink, and we take the charge. And then here it is in game action. And Smart's doing a really good job. You can see him. We worked on this. We talked about it a lot. On our TV copies, you could actually hear a player telling them to go, but you see at the top of the screen right here, I don't know if y'all can see my little arrow, but he's pointing to him already, telling them to go. Telling him like, hey, man, you got the rim. Be ready to go.
Coach, so will you all stay in ball side corner on those slot drives then?
Yes, we are not helping off ball side corner. Same thing here. You can see the loaded up in the paint. You can see how loaded up it is. He's going early. He comes, sink, rover, close out, no middle, force a turnover. Take the charge on the quick one in transition. And again, you're influencing the drive, but you're certainly not allowing it. And Reese does a good job here. You can see he stays connected to his body. We call that side and ride, or ride his hip. You have to stay connected to his body, and you actually ride him right into the charge. Okay, and then we knew we were going to have to do a lot of disadvantage. I only got a couple, like 2 more clips left, so I don't want to talk you to death. But we knew we were going to have to get better at disadvantage because we scripted everything the year before, and it was pretty good. But when it went off script, it went to hell. So we knew we were going to have someone was going to have to call ball. Not so you knew who you had, so they know who you had. You had to have good ball pressure. You had to have awareness of where your teammates were. Coach Bailey, that's what you were talking about. You had to anticipate so you could be there on the catch. And then ultimately, whoever was furthest away from the rim, you leave them open. And then last, who has the rim? So we played a lot of 5-on-4. Okay, a lot of 5-on-4, a lot. And so, you know, the offense talking, who's got the ball, who's got the rim. You want to leave the guy furthest away open. Okay, you taking him. Right here, you got him still no middle. Okay, you're scrambling, you're anticipating the next pass, and they force a shot clock violation. Okay, here's one that I love to do. This may be my favorite drill. We did this in JUCO. It's 4-on-4 with an open man. So you have green and you have black, 4 versus 4. The kid in the yellow penny is an all-time offensive member. So he's actually going to be on offense the whole time going up and down the floor. So it's always 5-on-4. Same thing, no middle, okay? No middle right here. Keep the ball out of the paint. Rose gets beat over the top a little bit. But you're just playing here, 5-on-4 scrambling, and sometimes you got to make a great effort. And then here we go. Now we're coming back. Now green only has 4 men. Now it's 5-on-4 the other way. Anticipating, moving, who's got the ball, no middle, good ball pressure, okay, no middle, and you force a turnover.
Ross, it's Adam.
What's up, dude?
How you doing? Wanted
Great.
to ask you on the 5-on-4, how'd you guys score that?
All ones.
Okay.
Everything was a 1. And then this, I think this is a great drill for summer and early workout. We call it the Miami Heat drill. It's a great conditioning drill. It's black versus green. And it starts out with green shooting a free throw, and then it'll be 2 coming down, 3-on-2, 4-on-3, 5-on-4, and then you can do whatever you want for the last period. You can play a minute, you could play 2 minutes. It's 5-on-5. We scored it. Everything was a 1 until you got to the 5-on-5 part. So now it's 3-on-2 the other way. And it helps your offense too, because you got to know, do you have an advantage? Are you getting good shots? Are you getting great shots? You know, defensively, are you in a 4-on-3, a 5-on-4? And here, you know, it's pretty good defense and pretty good offense, honestly. And Dang does a good job contesting. Okay. And then now it's 5-on-4. So we come down this way again. No middle still. Your principles are still the same. No middle, high hands. Okay, no middle, high hands. No middle, early help. Z gets to the rim, and now we're 5-on-5. Now we're starting the minute. Now it's live. Now you got regular scoring. And you can do it as long as you want. Again, rules are the same. No middle, switching. Get a fall down, we get a bucket. And so they're just playing now.
I know we've kind of talked about this before, Ross, but remind me. So offensively, you have a style of play, and then defensively, you have a style of play. When you're trying to run your offense, and I guess your offense, since it's more motion, it's free flowing, but is there a conflict of, hey, we're trying to run our offense so you guys can't side everything right now? Or how do you balance that?
Early, man, that was a major problem. Honestly, it contributed to us having offensive struggles early in the year, man, because the defense is unique and it basically kind of wrecks everything you're doing. And so we would put a scout team out there at times and have them play regular defense. And we would spend more time working 5-on-0 or maybe working some 3-on-0 with working concepts as opposed to dummying a play. You know, we would be working on a concept.
And then as the year went on, it just kind of got better because the offense got better and it got a better feel. Yeah,
just got more comfortable with it. Guys started being able to make reads on their own. And, you know, we played a very difficult non-league schedule. That was part of it. You know, we're at VCU, at Arkansas, Utah State, Rhode Island, and Jamaica, Oklahoma. and we came up short. And there were some internal conversations about were we doing the right things, because we did make changes, but we stuck with it and really felt like, we were at our best when it mattered most.
Yeah, my last two questions. One is about what do you think made you stick with it? Obviously, because when you're struggling and you're trying to go through it and you're about to start conference, you want to feel great going into conference. And then the other part is going back to last year's offense, right, where GMAC maybe was more in joystick mode. Could you have run the same defense in practice with an offense that's joysticking, or are you always constantly taking yourself out of it? Because your new offense, you're making more reads and decisions versus running plays.
Yeah, I think it was just we believed in what we were doing, and we believed it was going to reap benefits, but we just weren't seeing them yet, and that's ultimately what led it to stick with it, is like we actually did believe in what we were doing. But and then it would have been difficult because we were just, again, Mac is really good at it. It's what he's best at. That's what we had to evaluate when we were reading that book, and he had to put his pride aside because he feels like, hey man, I can put people in the right places and I can manipulate things and I can get shots for guys I want, but then what? After that, then what happens? You don't know how to play. And so we just really, we knew where we had to get. It was just painful getting there in the beginning.
Yep, thanks. Well, fellas, any last questions you guys have? Let's wrap it up. No rush, but just if you have questions, let's ask them. If not, then let's tell them thanks and wrap it up.
Hey, Ross, quick, two questions really quick. Your ball screens, side ball screens, did you ever down it or ice them?
Side ball screens, yeah, we pushed it down.
Okay.
We downed that, yep. And
okay, so would you switch it as well?
We would.
Okay. Just depending on game?
Yeah, our base defense was switch it. If we were going into a game where it was a dominant post player, or maybe we felt like a dominant guard, then we would stay. We would not switch. We would still down it, fight over it, lower and get back in front. But
okay.
yeah, it was our base coverage was everything on the sides, we pushed down. Everything that came up in the middle tunnel, we pushed left.
Okay. And then the other thing is, what I guess offense or kind of movement really kind of, I guess, hurt you guys a lot with trying to do all of that?
Good question, man. The thing that bothered us the most, without question, which would bother any defense probably, is when you had spacing at the 4-5, when you had spacers, and so you weren't able to load up necessarily, and that they could shoot the ball from 5 positions. And the Euro ball screen, or the continuity ball screen is what I call it. Some people call it Butler, some people call it Euro, where you reverse it, cut the guy through, set the side ball screen, come off of it, reverse it, cut the guy through. That was challenging, because it was always a reversal ball screen coming from the top, So it took us a little while to figure that part out.
What would you do mostly? Would you guys just anticipate working on it differently, or stuck with what you did?
No, we stuck with what we did. We just got better at guarding the ball and
okay.
not feeling like you're giving up a runway strip to the baseline. So I would guard the ball a little bit better. And then if they never set the ball screen, we wouldn't switch it, So it took time for sure.
I got a question for Tommy. Tommy Strine's like Adam Hood up there. He's got a new baby, so he's doing some daddy duties. He says, "What is the thinking in forcing middle every ball screen to the left? What is the thinking in forcing all of them left?"
That most players want to get to their strong hand, and so most players are right-handed, and so we just didn't want to have any sort of confusion with that. We did introduce this year, we call ice in the middle to force left. We did have a fire, which was force right. for a couple of times, but predominantly, just so everyone knew, the big knew, the guard knew, you had no confusion. Anything that came up in that middle tunnel, you knew you were forcing left and you were going to switch it.
Hey, Coach. Thank you again for this. This is Coach PJ out of Colorado Springs.
What's up, man?
Not much. You guys have pretty much some of the same base principles that we used this year that we switched to this year defensively, with especially going over the top in the middle on there with the middle ball screens, on the side with the hedges, on the side with the ices and downs. What would your depth be like though for those in the ice? Because that would be one thing that would kind of kill us.
Yeah, it is hard, man. We NBA line, pick up, point. We would anything out from under that we would call under. We would yell under, but it is hard in the middle because of the angle of it sometimes to get all the way under. So we would be conscious of that. Unless it was a really good player like Hood and them have at UTSA, Javon Jackson, that has range from 35 feet, you got to go over it no matter what it is. Kind of live with the consequences.
And then on the wings, with the defender, guard, and screener, what would his depth be like in the ice and the down?
Same thing. NBA line pickup. Okay. Anything outside of that area. If even though we wanted to keep it on the side, if the ball handler was dribbling away from the basket, like if he was dribbling to midcourt or if he was arcing out, we would kind of let him go. We wouldn't fight crazy hard to try to pin him in, and now you're giving up an avenue to the basket. If he was going away from the basket, we would let him go.
Okay. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Do you have any rules on the bigs on those downs, like how far back they can be? Do they need to maintain contact on their man?
We wanted to have contact. We wanted to have a hand on the hip and be level of the screen, take away the split, because we wanted no middle. So if you were going to get beat, if it was an in and out and he was driving full speed baseline, you had to know your rim would be there.
Ross, did you do a lot of, I know when I worked for you at Paris, we did a lot of notebooks classroom time where basically you had classroom time to teach basketball and break things down. Did you have to do that since it's a new system and nobody knew what was going on?
Yeah, we did. Did it a lot more individually now, after practice and through film, which, it sounds, it's crazy. I was talking last night even, man. It's just unbelievable to think at that time you're still using office phones to make long distance or wait until after 8 so your free minutes can kick in. It wasn't that long ago. So even when we were doing that, you're striking up the VHS.
Right.
Right. So now you have so much technology is so different. You can actually carry your laptop down on the practice floor, show somebody real quick, but there was a big educational piece to it. And we told our guys in the very beginning, we're going to ask more of our staff than we ever have. And we're going to in turn ask you to be more versatile, Zach Simmons, 24. We're going to ask you to do things we've never asked you to do before. We're going to ask you to switch out there on the best guards. We're going to ask you to play multiple defenses. So they bought into it, man, and it didn't take long with this team for us to realize that they'll be as good as we can coach them. And that's a beautiful thing and a scary thing as a coach to know that, like, man, if we can put these guys in the right position, as good as we can coach them, as good as they will be. It doesn't happen very often, man, but we knew it early on because they kept coming back, man. Taking our lumps, coming up short at VCU, coming up short against Utah State, coming up short against Oklahoma, and they just kept coming.
Yep. When you guys switch, like you talked about Zach Simmons switching on guards, and then let's say a ball screen happens after that, you just have someone just switch back. You don't have to worry about ice or bigs having to learn to get on the hip and
not really. We practiced it so they would have a feel for it, but most everybody just gets very stagnant. Yeah. Stands around and watch one guy dribble.
Right. No, awesome stuff, man. Awesome presentation. Appreciate you opening up, man, telling your story. And obviously, I'm super biased, but I think your time to be a head coach is coming. And in the meantime, you guys will keep being at the top of Conference USA. And unfortunately, they didn't get to go to the NCAA tournament this year because of COVID. So no offense to Adam. I know they have aspirations to go too, but, best of luck in going and pursuing. I know you guys have a lot of guys back and a lot of returners and staff cohesion too. So should be fun to follow you guys' success. So thanks again, Ross. Any closing words you have? And then just want to say thanks again for coming on, and thanks everybody for joining.
Hey man, appreciate the platform, man. I've watched so many of these, like as we all have, man. And trust me, I got more questions than answers, man. 17 years in, and I said many times this year, like I feel like I know less now than I ever did, man. So it isn't like, trust me, man. We can all learn, and I love the opportunity to be able to do this, and I've watched so many and just talk with you guys. Brian can here. I'll text in. I'll type my number.
You put your stuff in the chat real quick. We'll hang around for a little bit, and then I'll say this, Ross. I think so much of obviously so many different aspects of who you are, but I think the humility, the willingness to learn. I mean, you hear an associate head coach going to Texas Tech. And a head coach kind of figuring out, I want to try something different. I think this says there's a lot of risk involved in that. There's a lot of courage it takes in that. And then a lot of just confidence.
And being vulnerable, man.
Super vulnerable, man, which a lot of coaches aren't willing to do. So credit to you guys, credit to Coach Mack, credit to the staff, and then just being able to learn it enough to, in an offseason, a new offense and new defense in the same offseason, to have the confidence even through the hard schedule you guys had, and you guys played people really tough and were right there. But I remember me and you talking about it. I just thought you guys would take off in conference because you were so battle tested and your guys kept fighting, like you said. But credit to you guys for continuing to lead them and continue to believe in a new offense and new defense, because you could have easily been like, all right, we're going back. This ain't
working. And I give credit to, like I said, Ben over at Northwest Missouri and Mark Adams. I mean, those guys were unbelievable, man. And I that's what I encourage us all to do, man. I mean, like I said, we're competitors. We all want to win, but at the same time, man, let's help each other. Let's give, and give to give. Necessarily don't give to get, man. So like I said, I appreciate it. You guys can I got some drill package stuff already, like out, YouTube stuff. If you want to text me if you need anything else, feel free, man. Like I said, man, I love talking hoops, and I certainly don't have the answer, so I can learn equally from you guys. So I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, B. This is awesome.
Yeah, and just last thing, I understand that he's a real. Some people give that lip service. He's real. I mean, I'm in the same conference as him. We've had conversations. We've talked about opponents. We've talked about our own teams. So it's not, like he was saying, like end season frenemies, but at the same time, somebody that, me and I respected, and he's done a great job. And he keeps talking about how good we were. They beat our butts, so we owe him something, so they've done a really good job, and they're the standard right now. So we'll be chasing them.
Appreciate it, Adam.
Yeah, and I think just kind of closing thoughts from all the stuff from your career. I mean, you can start from anywhere. Coach talked about starting as a GA. Jason, you're a high school student still, which I respect so much that you came on. Thanks so much. Salute to you. And all of us kind of have a different path. Coach Division II, junior college, and has kind of worked his way up to being, a championship level associate head coach, and had a ton of success stories along the way. But kind of like he said to his earlier self, not getting too high or too low, just kind of, keep staying true to the vision, and then paying it forward. I think that's the biggest thing, the humility and paying it forward. It's an ego business. It's a competitive business. We all want to have success and climb the ladder. But like I said, credit to those nuggets that Coach shared with us. And, yeah, appreciate it so much, and we'll take those with us, Coach.
All right, man. All right, you guys. You guys have a good one, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank y'all. Thanks, B.
All right.
Yep, you're welcome, man. Thank you.